Hello, it's Dan again, and today I'm here at Afton State Park in Minnesota, where it's a fairly dismal, cloudy, gray autumn day. But in brighter news, I got the brand new Zcam E2, which is a micro four thirds camera that was just released from the people at Zcam. The exciting thing with this camera is that it supports 4K in 10-bit mode at 120 frames per second, which for a sub $2,000 camera is amazing. Full disclosure, I haven't been paid for this review. I bought this camera just like anybody else. I got it in the early bird program, so some of the criticisms I have about this camera may be corrected in a future firmware update. In fact, some of them will certainly be corrected in a firmware update in the near future, they've promised. Technical specs on this camera: uses the StarViz sensor, which is the same one used in the Blackmagic 4K pocket camera, as well as the Panasonic GH5S. It records internally to CFast 2.0 cards, which is what I've been using, or it can record to USB-C SSDs. I've heard that, at least with the current version of the firmware, that's not super reliable, so I haven't been doing that, but that'll be a great budget option in the not too distant future. So it uses Sony camcorder batteries. This one's an F550. This is one of my favorite things with this camera. These batteries are really cheap. You get them on Amazon for like, the 500 series can get a couple of them for like 25 bucks, usually with a charger. They last a decently long time. If you want more battery life, you can either put in a 700 or 900 series battery, or you can also just power it off of DTAP, which is pretty cool. For external microphones, it has both an 1/8 inch jack, and then it also has this plug right here where you can plug in a breakout cable, which lets you connect two XLR microphones. I'm not sure if it has phantom power. It seems unlikely, but I could be wrong. Yeah, not sure on that one. The camera has no internal screen. Well, it has a very small internal screen. Normally it just displays camera status, but you can switch it to a live view mode, and there is focus peaking, so you can almost use it to focus your lenses, but it's not a great experience. I've been using this with an external screen, and it's generally much better. There are a few modes where the external screen just doesn't work, and for that it's better to turn on the little internal screen after getting things focused. Again, I'm sure that'll be addressed in an upcoming firmware update. Yeah, I think that's probably enough boring technical stuff for now, so let's walk around the park. Yeah, it's not the prettiest day for doing test shots, but you make do with what you have, so let's walk around and test this camera, see how it does. So next, I would like to test continuous autofocus, and also I'm testing, doing audio with my little Rode Video Micro plugged in on the side of the camera. So hopefully, I sound okay, and then hopefully the camera's able to track me. When I tried the continuous autofocus in my house before, it didn't work well at all, but it's also pretty dim there. Here, despite being a gray day, it's at least relatively bright, so hopefully I'm in focus now. It's difficult to tell by looking at my screen. And then I'm going to try walking backward, and then walk forward, and hopefully the camera, tracks me as I'm going. So let's check out how this works. So hopefully the camera tracked me through all that and I stayed in focus. I'm obviously the most interesting thing in this frame, so hopefully whatever algorithms in the camera could figure that out. Okay, I decided to do one last continuous autofocus test with the most challenging of all. So this is with the Olympus 75mm f1.8 lens. Gorgeous lens. But like I'd mentioned before, the camera has kind of mixed results so far when using Olympus. So far, this one seems to be working okay. Seems to have autofocused on me from what I can tell, once again from like 10 feet away. Doesn't seem to be hunting, which is good. So again, this is Olympus 75mm f1.8, wide open. Yeah, the background blur, wow, that looks really pretty. So that's, once again, I'm going to step back and forward and let's see how well this can track me. So stepping backward. Tracking me, hard to say, tracking me. So I'll step back a little, I'm going to walk forward, stepping forward. Well, from what I can see, once again, from 10 feet away, it looks like I'm in focus. So I'm going to step back and forward again, give it, a couple more times just to see how it keeps doing. So I step back a little, give it a second, step forward. Well, looks like I'm in focus. One more time. So I step back, stepping forward one more time. Well, it seems like that's doing pretty well. Let's try again the step off to the side and back thing. So stepping to the side. Whoa, lost me. Step back. Can't find me. Hey, it found me. Step off to the side. Step back. Taking a minute now. There you go. Come on. Come on, little camera, you can do this. You got me, camera. Come on. I'm with you. Yeah, that's not finding me at all. Alright, let's try that again. Step to the side. Step back. There we go, now it found me. Step back. Side. Lost me, step back. Yeah, it's not bad. Side. Back. Come on, camera. Yeah, you're really not having a lot of luck. There you go. Good job. These are things to find out. So I'm going to stand here and talk for a minute. I'm going to keep standing here and talking for a minute, just because I know that with Panasonic cameras, for example, they like to hunt focus sometimes while somebody's just standing in front of them talking, not moving off screen or doing anything like that. So right now I'm just going to keep talking and see how this does. So far it's tracking me pretty well. Yeah, I think I could use this as like a vlogging camera as long as it is gonna more or less stay solid on me like this. I could definitely just stand in front of the camera, talk about stuff a little bit, give you my thoughts on various things. I'm sure everybody's just dying to hear my thoughts on various things. State of YouTube, politics. Oh man, the world's just waiting for me. Alright, so I think I'm going to leave the autofocus on because it's generally seeming to work pretty okay. This is a scenario that I know my Sonys would have a bit of a problem with. I'm face relatively in the shadows. Behind me we've got both bright sky and fairly bright river. So the Sonys would almost always favor the bright stuff behind me, and my face would be out of focus. From what I can see on my screen right now, I think I'm actually in focus on this, so good job, Zcam. The other thing that's notable about this particular clip is that I've turned on the wide dynamic range mode, in which the engineers at Zcam are doing some sort of tricks with the sensor, which I'll honestly say I don't fully understand. Apparently it isn't 2 frames in rapid order. It's something with highlight sampling, blah blah blah. Again, I don't really understand it totally, but in any case, it seems to work pretty well. And so right now you've got, like I said, this fairly bright stuff behind me, and then me in the shadows, and the camera seems to be doing a pretty good job of exposing for it. I'll also do the shot again with wide dynamic range mode turned off, and we'll see how that works. Okay, and here is basically the same thing again. This time in the normal, just standard 10-bit, not wide dynamic range mode. And already on the screen I can see that the histogram, the right hand side of it looks like it's blown out. This sky over here looks blown out. The river behind me also looks blown out. So we'll see when I get this on the computer how much I can recover, but I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to be able to totally recover those. I think they're just going to be blown out. So I don't know if I mentioned, I think there are some artifacts you can get with fast movement in the wide dynamic range mode, but especially for things where it's pretty static, like me standing here talking for this scene or shooting landscapes, etc. I think the wide dynamic range mode is kind of a winner. I'm inclined to use it for a whole lot of things. So yeah, good job, Zcam. Well, as I'd mentioned as I started this, the camera also supports shooting 4K at up to 120 frames per second, which is pretty cool. So, since I haven't really done anything with that yet, I'm going to shoot a little bit with it now. The bad news is there's almost no wind today. This park is mostly empty, so there's really not that much that's moving to make 120 frames per second seem exciting at all. So I guess I'll shoot some waves. They'll be kind of boring. Sorry, but they're just about the only thing that's moving at this park. So I'm gonna shoot that. And then I think that's going to be it for today before I lose daylight. So stay focused, camera. Oh, and one thing I should mention also, you might have noticed that, blown out sky and river behind me again. It's because I turned off wide dynamic range mode, anticipation of doing the 120 frames a second. Sadly, in the variable frame rate modes, which is anything other than basically like 4K, P24, 30, and in some modes P60, yeah, the wide dynamic range mode just isn't available. The other thing I should mention is that the high frame rate modes like 120 don't have any sound associated with them, although mostly for the use case that people use high-speed modes like that for, I don't think sound is really that big of a concern. So anyway, without further ado, here comes 120 frames a second worth of 4K something. Yeah. Alright, well, I'm back to wide dynamic range mode and autofocus. Hopefully I'm in something like focus. I'm starting to lose daylight now, so I'm going to have to call things a day, I think. But from what I've been able to see on the screen as I've been shooting things today, this has looked really good. So I'm looking forward to getting this home, getting it on the computer, editing it, etc. And hopefully y'all enjoyed the video that I put together. I'll make some notes on the screen with the footage, with things I notice, etc., etc. And I think that as long as this autofocus stuff looks good when I have it on the computer later, I think that I'm going to try like doing more of a vlog setup with this camera tomorrow versus all the locked off tripod shots that I've been doing today. So a lot more like, you know, camera on a mini tripod at arm's length, sort of talk to the camera stuff, and just follow my daily activities. You know, weather permitting, I'll go to another park and walk around a bit. And otherwise, I hope that you've enjoyed watching this video as much as I've enjoyed making it. If you did like it, you know, feel free to check out some of my other videos, hit like, subscribe, etc., etc. And in any case, have a great day and thanks for tuning in. Let's try that one more time and then we'll have this right.